Welcome to the first episode of the All in Focus podcast. I've had thoughts of starting a podcast now for a while, but I was just like, yeah, why not? I do have very interesting friends, and I wanted to speak to most of them and have conversations, lighthearted conversations, conversations, and other times. But I just felt like it will be fun for people to meet my friends, and that's why I started this podcast. So if you're here, doesn't mean you either know me personally or you just found it somehow. But I'm so glad you found the podcast. See if you like it. And there will of course be further conversations. I can't wait for you to meet most of my friends. Some of them are, you know, um, I thought about how and who to speak to first, and no other person came to mind than Jimmy. Jimmy and I have been friends for donkey years, as you will hear in the conversation. I started out hoping for a 30 minutes conversation, but it was so natural that we ended up having over 2 hours, and I have decided to chop it up into bits so that it can be consumable. There would also be one long form conversation if that's what you might be interested in. But here is the first part of my conversation with Jimmy. I hope you like it. I'm quite happy for you to give me some feedback. See you on the other side. Thank you for coming on my podcast. It is the All in Focus podcast, and it's a podcast where I talk to my friends, and basically we talk about stories, mostly about the things that we've been involved in together, and how we've grown up. Um, I want to introduce you as I wanted to speak to you specifically for the first episode because given looking at I basically reflected on how long our friendship has been, and
Mhm.
actually realized that we met in 2005. That's 20 years. During
Correct.
during pre-degree, that's 20, that's 20 years. And I,
Yeah.
I think most of my current friends, I probably met them 100 level, 200 level. So that makes you my longest tenured friend, at least active friend, active
Now,
friend.
now, now
And
I
I,
won't cry.
and that's why I felt as though it would be befitting if I'm going to make anything of this, actually speak to you first. I would introduce you as uh, your name is Dr. Jolayemi Folajimi. You are a long time, like I said, long time friend of mine. You are a father to two lovely kids, and you are also a recently qualified GP. And that sounds really well. And I think that's most of the facet because of course we've been friends personally, but mostly professionally as well.
Yeah.
That introduction sort of encapsulates a lot that or most of what I know about you. Do you
Mhm.
think you would introduce yourself differently? Do you have like other facets you think is not particularly open to me personally or to like others generally?
Oh, well, I think you really, looking at it from the snapshot introduction point of view, I think you really said much that I would ordinarily want to say in terms of introducing myself to maybe people who are not so familiar with me. I think the other part of it that you forgot to mention was the fact that I'm a husband to a very beautiful woman as well. So you only mentioned the fact that I'm a father. Don't let my wife hear
You are
that
just
because
to clear that
I'm not a single dad.
you are not a single father. You are not a single father. And I think I will touch on that a bit late, a bit late, and we'll
Yeah.
probably understand why I did introduce you in that manner. But yeah, yeah. Thank you for coming on. Do you think to start, do you have any like hidden talents? I think that's a good question.
Hidden talent. I mean, I think that's a very big one. I mean, not that I can actually think of now. And to be frank, I was still having a conversation with a friend yesterday, and the question that he asked me was that Kilondo, and I mean, Kilondo literally means like, what can we do to make money? And I mean, I just blanked out for a while, looking into my life in the past 4 years. Like, it's been very chaotic and very stressful. So. I mean, maybe I have an hidden talent that I've not been able to explore, but I would say none for now.
Mm,
I have been very occupied with a lot of things that you probably, are aware about in the past
yeah.
4 years. I had no time to even explore, if at all, I have any talent whatsoever. Maybe I would
Yeah.
say maybe my talent is sleeping because I can sleep. As a matter
I,
of
I
fact, that's what I do when I don't have any other things doing. So maybe that's the talent. I don't know.
Yeah, yeah. I think that question, like that your friend asked you, was quite I think was on point because if there is one thing that I personally am aware
Mhm.
that you did, at least over the last couple of years, is that you made a lot of money. You made a lot of money, and I think you sort of have like a natural talent for making money legally I think at least as it's open to me. I think you do have like a hand in some sort of like travel business, or am I wrong?
Um, I mean, travel business, no. I mean, I used to do some forex sometimes back, but I mean, because of the recent and because of the changes in the government in Nigeria, that sort of like stopped working. So it was not profitable as it used to be then. Um, I mean, the other thing I would say, I mean, probably that I also did in the past, before I really got busy, was I also I mean, well, everything still goes around the fact about that forex, type of deal. So, but then I just stopped doing it because at some point it was no longer profitable for me, so I gave up.
And you replace that with a lot more money that I know. Anyways, so and I wanted to start from like the very beginning. Like I said, we met in 2005
Mm.
during
Degree.
pre-degree. Do you remember your PD number?
Mm. Yeah.
What's it?
Oh, no, I don't. It's like, but only my matric number.
I
The
think I think my
I
I
don't
think my
know.
PD I think my PD number was 050477 or something like that.
I don't think
Okay.
I can remember mine.
Yeah, it's funny. So I think that's a very good point to start. And we sort of like came in contact because we were living in the same hostel, Model
Matric
3,
three. Correct.
um,
Yeah.
Model 3, and that's where I sort of wanted to start. I will tell you my own sort of first impression of you, and I'll be interested to see if you can remember any sort of first impression. So.
Mm.
I think I must have like come down from I was living upstairs in my door
Yes.
three, and then
Yeah.
you were living downstairs, and I of course I did not know anyone in my door three then. I think a couple of people downstairs had already been friendly. I think the people in the first room you were already friends with them, I think. And I came down and then I saw you, and I think you must have said something to those other friends, and then we left things as that. But then I heard about like you being like a product of OBMS, and I was like, okay, why is an OBMS student here in Lautech? I felt out of place as someone who went to ISI. I was like, okay, I think literally I must have been the only ISI student in pre-degree Lautech. I think I think so. So I was like, okay, yes, OBMS is a good school. It's a good school, at least in Ibadan. What was the unfortunateness, if there's anything like
Hey,
that?
point of correction, the best school at that time in Ibadan.
It's one of we will not come there. So, so it was like, okay, what happened to this person? Because I was already feeling bad for myself. Like, okay, how did I
Why
end
is
up
this guy
here?
unfortunate?
Yes, what was the unfortunate that hit this person that ended up not like in like 100 level in Lautech, but like pre-degree is like people who did not get into, because of course I had tried to get into UI then, that which is most of what the natural progression is from my school. Everyone
Yeah.
goes to UI, but of course, um because my wife was one guy. And this was the time UI had sort of like changed
Yeah,
their
high grading
criteria,
levels.
which was now like mostly Y centric. So even though I made my papers, of course, I didn't. They prioritize people with like A's and B's and stuff like that.
Yeah.
And I think we must have been doing registration for like pre-degree. And I think
Hmm.
you must have had like challenges with your result. I think you had like a result plus an affidavit because of the
Mm,
name, I think.
correct. Yes.
And then I got to see your result, and I was like, okay, this person is clearly smart. Like he had lots of like A's and B's. Okay, so this person is smart. He went to like a good school and had met himself in this shithole. What is going on? So that was my very first sort of like impression. And of course, we eventually um became quite friendly. And I think one other thing was, I think maybe I'll give you a chance to respond. But one other thing I sort of wanted to touch on was the fact that your roommate was actually the class rep. As
Pastor.
as well, your roommate was also the class rep as well.
Yeah.
So that's what I particularly found, at least initially, interesting about you. Do you remember any sort of like first contact? If you can't, we can move on. Sorry.
Yeah, I think you have a very sharp sharp memory. Um, you were able to remember all of these things in details, and if in details, even with myself, you were actually driving me down the memory lane with all of those things. If they had asked me, I don't think I would have even said that much about myself. Well, I think that the first impression that I had about you, and I'm just try to picture the very first time I saw you in Madel then, was that okay? I mean, Ma, Madel was in Ogbomoso, so I think that was the first time I'll be, you know, having an idea of someone that also was from Ibadan. So, and like, I had no friends then in Madel, so it was just like, it looked as if okay, fine. I think I saw someone that is, I mean, almost the same as the same. That has almost the same background as I had then, from Ibadan. Went to ISI. And also consider the fact that there's this
Right,
on
balls.
rivalry between both schools. So, you appeared as a light-headed, as a cool-headed guy. Then, unfortunately, it was not the case as time goes on. So,
Yeah.
I think,
Yeah, I sort of wanted to, well, yeah, so that was mostly it. And I'll come back to Madden in a bit. I wanted to touch on like sort of progressing from there and I wanted to see how you sort of like handled it. We had like tests, must have been either 3 months or 6 months in pre-degree.
correct. Yeah.
And I think I must have had about like 105 or something like that, of tests. And I was really feeling good about myself. And I was like walking, I remember myself like walking down to the hostel. I was like, yeah, I got over 100, because over 100 was considered quote unquote
Yeah.
smart.
Mhm.
I got over 100, and definitely there's no one in this hostel who's going to actually score more than me. And then I heard you had scored 116 or something very, very, very ridiculous. And I was like, yes, this guy needs to be taking
I think
a bit more seriously.
I had 110. Yeah.
Parent, yeah, yeah. It was how was that time for you? Sort of like coming into pre-degree and sort of like preparing academically for pre-degree. Did it feel like just a continuation of BMS, or did it feel like you had to do something else, like to prepare,
Yeah.
knowing
So
that you had wanted to like enter medicine?
correct. So that's that was like sort of like the driving point. And let me just digress a little bit. I mean, just move back to, the fact that what happened, like what was the unfortunateness that happened to this guy that he had to find himself in Lautech. So there was an unfortunateness really. So I mean, I was fortunate to have a very good O-level result, and so that was around the time that UI started grading O-levels, making it more O-level central in terms of their admission process. So I did very well in my whole levels. So when I mean, by my own grading with my jam score, by my own grading, I had 78%, and UI would naturally call you once you have 75% and above for, I mean, they will shortlist you for interviews. So the first list came out, my name didn't come out. So I gave up entirely. Like, okay, fine, it's not going to work. So I just channeled my energy into Lautech pre-degree. Unfortunately, it was around that time that Nigeria was doing their national census. So I got a
Okay.
gig. I went to Oyo town. So I was part of the people that, did the national census for people, I
Mm,
mean, for Nigeria then.
mm,
It was during that period that UI had already scheduled the second batch of interview,
mm,
newspaper publications. Unfortunately,
mm.
my name was the number one on that list.
Oh God.
But I only found out about this like a week after the interview had taken place.
Not taking place. Oh God.
So it was, yeah, so
It was an
it was,
unfortunateness.
yeah, it was very unfortunate. And like, oh, I mean, I felt my whole life was crashing then because
Ah,
like almost all my classmates that were, when, I mean, BMS together, almost all of them got into medical school in UCH. So I just thought, okay, fine, I had to, buckle up. So it was that, aggression, and I was like, okay, fine. I mean, what other option do I have? Like, we came from a very humble background. If I don't put in the hard work, how do I get into the medical school? I mean, getting into medical school was a priority. So maybe maybe that translated into me doing the extra hard work. But I mean, it was not even sort of like an extra hard work really. But I just made sure that okay, fine, study extra and left the rest to God. So I wasn't. I mean, when the results came out, then I mean, I wasn't really expecting that I would even get that much. But then it is what it is.
yeah, of course. Maybe not now. But I think my own sort of like strategy towards at least the test, although I did not do well most of the exams. So I ended up with a 380 something. Was to like do daily studies. And I think because I was a bit green then and didn't have
Mhm.
lots of friends, as opposed to like post the test towards the main exams, I think I did like daily studying at least.
Okay.
Was that your strategy as well towards exams, or was it just like just study anytime you wanted?
Yeah, so it was, I mean, so if I can remember vividly, it was daily studying. I was not a fan of going to classes. I mean, as a matter of fact, I was not frequently attending classes. One of the things that was I mean, that I found as an advantage was the fact that our class rep then was my roommate. So he attends all the classes.
Mm.
He will come up with his notes. So I just photocopy his notes, and that is what I read. Then there's this chap then, if you could remember, is it called Big Ben or Biggest
Big
Ben?
Ben,
Ben.
yeah, I think yes, the math guy, isn't it?
Yeah, the math guy, yeah. Then it teaches physics, chemistry, and all those things.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
So I didn't miss any of his classes.
So it
So,
was,
so it was more of like, attending Big Bang classes rather than, attending lectures in 1.5, or I think it was more of 1.5 that we're using there because
yeah.
it was chaotic then. Like,
1.5 was crazy, wasn't it? Wasn't it? Like
yeah,
literally, we will wake up 3 o'clock
yeah,
to go
exactly.
and get
Yeah.
like a proper space
Things.
in 1.5, and people would come
Yeah.
back, and by the time you got there, someone may have actually taken the space, and if the person
e-
was bigger than you, there was nothing you were going to do.
Exactly. Exactly. I think we're about maybe about 4 or 5,000
Most
students in the
likely,
degree then. And I mean, for
most
a lecture
likely.
of 1,500. So to me then, what's the point? Like, what's the point in going to, that kind of lecture? So I think that was pretty much what I did. I never missed Big Ben's classes. And also, when Tunde was class rep, then when he comes back, look at his notes, photocopy his notes, read his notes, and that was basically what I did then. Yeah.
Yeah, yeah. And just one thought, or one just to digress a bit about biggest pen. Another thing I sort of like remember is I think he did, and I'm not sure if this is like 100 level or PD, but he did like tutorials on Saturdays, and he would collect, I think, 10 naira or something like that from everyone.
Yeah.
And if you did not give him the 10 naira, he would probably basically just stand in front of you and probably embarrass you. That was wild. That was wild. That was
Yeah.
wild.
Yeah.
Yeah, so sort of that was pretty great. So, and apart from like notes that you got from Pastor, was there sort of like any other advantages of having him as a roommate? And did you arrange to have him as a roommate, or did you guys just meet like in Mado?
No, we just met. So I just paid for a bed space,
Oh, best.
and yeah, and that was and we just met. That was I mean that was, I didn't know him from Adam, and so Mother was the first place I met him. So, but I don't think, apart from that, we were not, we were just roommates. And that was just about our relationship.
Yeah, I
Nothing.
think, yes, just so before I move on that, I think I'm not sure because I used to still come around in 100 level, even though I had moved to Mamadou Bello after pre-degree. But the relationship between yourself and your roommate, just like you said, was roommate. I think literally Lake, one of our other friends, would
Yeah.
would be there, and it felt to me like we were just disturbing this guy. You know what I mean? And you did not care. That's how it felt. That's how it felt to me. So was that relationship like standard roommates, or was there like some tension there? And if there was, what was the tension?
No, I think the tension bit was the fact that, he's a pastor, so sometimes, I'm not a devil myself, but sometimes his activities sort of like distract or disturb me, so to say. So, pastor is the kind of person that would wake up maybe in the middle of the night, 2 a.m., and start praying. And if I say start praying, you know, like with really loud voices, that was the time
Yeah.
I'll be sleeping. Sometimes, wake up in the middle of the night, start playing guitar while I was sleeping. So, we
Mhm.
never had any confrontation, sort of like, to say. I think we still live together in 100 level. I think
Mm,
so. Yeah, but
mm,
but
mm.
it's 200 level that I had to leave. I had to leave the room. So,
Did you leave Model 3 to another room, or
yes,
did
I
you?
left. Yeah, so I left to the Fikayo's room, so which was just the next room.
Okay, that was just the next
Yeah,
that was just the next one. Those
yeah.
are fun times. So sticking to like Mardell, I don't know,
Mhm.
as a place, my own sort of like recollection of Mado. Of course, I spent one year there, and it was mostly because it was a new hostel, and
Yeah.
mostly the people who were there were mostly like pretty great people as well. You had some ladies, you had some guys downstairs. So for me, it was very formative, meaning that you were meeting people fresh. you were forming like
Right.
fresh relationships,
Yeah.
and uh, yeah, a few sort of like testy relationships here and there. And then we had, I think there was a time we had one Madel house party. I don't know if you were there
Hmm.
or if you were involved. I know there were a couple of more house parties after I had left. I'm just talking about the one between Pretty Grand
Yeah.
um and 100 level. And I think we must have had like a DJ. I'm not sure if he was staying in Madel or he was staying um in the other hostel just behind us. You know, the guy that eventually became social secretary
Yeah. Yeah. TJ.
for TJ. Yes, yes, yes. And we like hired. I'm not sure if we contributed now, but we like hired people and we're blasting we're blasting music almost all through the night. So it was at
Yeah.
least was some sort of there was some sort of fun. How did you like experience like Mado as someone who actually stayed there a bit longer than you probably became like chief of Mado at some point.
I mean, I think I mean, like I used to tell people. I mean, if there's one part of my life that I want to relive was the preclinical years in Ogbomoso. Like so, because I think that was my peak, so to say. So that was my peak. So I really had a very good time, in Ogbomoso, like especially 100 level to three. I mean, pretty great to 300 level. So, the like you said, the house parties, the night parties, even going to club parties. So, I mean, Madel, so to say, like, I mean, I have like a sort of like a sentimental attachment to the life that I lived there. Sometimes even when I'm just alone, I just try to look at those experiences. So, um, you know, still trying to see, the relationships there, with guys, girls, and all those kind of things, and what the kind of life that we live then. Um, I think if I want to, if there's a type of life I want to relive, unfortunately, that might not be possible. I think it was, I mean, for the fact that that was the first time that we would actually be leaving home,
Mm.
like as independent adults. So, the friends that we met there, doing things on your own without, your parents being there, trying to make, on the spot decisions, um, cook together, eat together, do things together.
Yeah,
So
we did
it's
lots of cooking
really,
with lots of like Maggie and stuff. Like we'd probably put like 6 or 7 Maggie, myself, you, and later
yeah.
God of
Yeah.
mercy.
So it was a very good, good time, and I must say, yeah.
Yeah, yeah. Sort of like moving on from Mardel and just taking it a step up, following the completion of Pretty Great, you clearly did like very well. I think you were over 400, so you were were you over 400?
Yeah, I think I had 419, yeah.
Yeah, yeah. So you were almost like a shoo-in to like go into medicine. How was that time for you? Like, how did you feel about like you came here hoping to accomplish something? It now seems like it's achievable. How did that feel?
Yeah, I mean, not until the admission letter came out. Like I said, from the kind of country that we came from, you still, I mean, despite the fact that you score high, I think they used to rank us, and on the
Hmm.
on the ranking, I think I was maybe 16 or 19. And they would say, okay, they would take 25 or 30 for medicine, or all those kind of things. But then you still need to be sure that until that admission letter came out and they say, okay, you've gotten medicine. But there was another thing that came out. I mean, that happened. And when we did the exam, my GNS was not released.
Oh.
The exam component of the GNS was not released. So that was also a nightmare. I was in Ibadan. When the results came out, we checked it online. GNS was withheld. Wow. Oh dear. So I had to go back to Ogbomoso to go and rewrite it again. So before my old score was populated and everything. So that was another, another period of stress that and uncertainty as well because it was just I just had to study medicine. So when the score came out in that GNS, I think out of over 70, I think I had 67. So which
Oh,
was yeah, so which was a very good score for me. Then at least, now made my score 400 and 419, or maybe 419 or 416. So it sort of like, makes me a little bit, rest assured, okay, fine, that I would sort of like, get medicine, which had always been my dream. And eventually, when the results, I mean, when the admissions came out, that I got medicine. So, I mean, it was a relief, sort of, at least that, okay, fine, the hard work, the prayers, everything, paid off eventually.
yeah. And with you sort of like being over 400 and like ranking high, did you have to like press any buttons? Did you have to like submit any letters and things like that to sort of like even key it and be a bit more?
I'm not like, yes. My my mom had to get a connect for the commissioner for was it education or health in Ogbomo, your state that
Yeah,
time.
yes,
So sort of like, gave us his card and also, made some calls to at least,
to
you
at
know,
least I think
yeah, I
that
could, yeah.
I
I
think
could
that's
remember.
just that's just really tragic. Okay, you could remember something. Yeah.
Yeah, so I could remember that when we went to meet, I think maybe the admission officer was like, "Why are you disturbing?" That was like, "Why are you disturbing yourself? That you already have a very good score and you are going to get the medicine. So why did you need the commissioner to even call us in the first place?" So, but I mean, just that just tells us, the kind of situation that we had then, that even if you have your very good score, even if you have merit, you still need to, which is unfortunate in in that regard.
Yeah, yeah, it is really, really unfortunate. My score ended up being about like 384. I was pretty delusional about it, thinking, yes, I was going to get medicine. I was going to get medicine as well. And I think my parents must have at least tried a couple of things, a couple of people, but of course, of course, it wasn't going to work. So eventually, I ended up in, like, you probably know, physiology um for 100 level, and then subsequently crossover. There's a funny story about crossing, and I think I'll move on to sort of like our 200, 300 level years in a bit.
Mm,
The funny story
yeah.
about my crossing. In fact, there are two funny stories. One of them is I finished 100 level with a combined like CGP of like 4.57, I think. And the cutoff for crossing was like 4.60, I think. I think that was the cut. I think that was the cutoff to cross. And one of our like mutual one of our classmates, one of my classmates that was in physiology, about that also wanted to cross
Mhm.
Olaoshibiko, would usually go to Oshogbo to go and check if the list is out. And he'll go to like the provost office and ask the secretary if the list is out. I think he ended up with like a 4.66 thereabout. So he was almost like a shoo-in to cross. So at one point he came back with the news that he's seen the list, but he'd only seen his own name on the list. Okay. Which was like being clever by half. This person was very
Yeah.
friendly to me. You probably saw the whole list. My name wasn't on there. But you did not want to tell me my name wasn't on the first, wasn't on that first list. So eventually they pasted like the list, and this friend of mine walked with me, knowing that my name wasn't there. You understand? To in front of the faculty office, and then looked at the results, and then consoled me on the way back, and it was it was yeah, it was some sort of experience, because if you were hoping to cross, What
Yeah.
you do is attend classes in your regular class in physiology, and then also attend classes in
Yeah.
medicine.
Like,
So there was absolutely no way your mind was settled on what you were reading. And the courses, some of them were similar, some of them were widely different.
yeah.
So subsequently the second list came out, and I was on, I think even like the first list you had people like 3.8 on that on that first on that first list, but
It's-
subsequent, yeah, which is a sign a sign of how everything goes about there. But subsequently, of course, the second list came out, and I was able to join. I think it was very helpful to me that comprehensive got cancelled
Yeah.
because the second list came out. It must have been a month or two to to
Comprehensive.
comprehensive. There was no way I was making that I was making that exam with the way the anatomy was so confusing. Like
Yeah.
there was so much osteology in
Exactly.
in
Even
an, in that thing.
even till now, I think the foundation of our anatomy is
Yeah, so it was the that was yeah, it was a time, of like not settling, but subsequently eventually was all right.